Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Tonight's topic is about my early experiences when I, first went to prison. How you do your time determines how you view being in prison. It was different for everybody. How you see yourself is how you see your world. See, each and every prisoner will tell you their experience in a similar but different way. Everyone's circumstances are the same as far as being incarcerated, but the difference lies in how they choose to spend their time. Misery is an option. Most prisoners who are like repeat offenders adjust easily to prison life. They are what we call institutionalized. But for first time offenders like myself, incarceration is a difficult experience. See, in the beginning of my bid, I had a rough time, of course, adapting, to that harsh, and cruel world. I was young and inexperienced, to doing time. When I went to prison, it was a very violent and hostile place. That was, back in the 90s. The first prison I went to was United States, it was Federal United States Penitentiary, Long Park, on the West Coast, in 1998. Everyone then seemed to either have life sentences or lengthy sentences, to do like 30 years, 40 years. Some had 200 life sentences. Some had 500 life. No one was getting out of out of prisons anytime soon in them days. This was the crack era that created a prison population explosion of mass incarceration, which brought about an increase of uncontrolled violence, conflicts, and never-ending quarrels between different gangs and prisoners from different locations. For example, like D.C., California, New York, the Dirty South, Midwest. That's how the feds is set up. Different cars depending where you're from. As for the gangs, you had Crips, Bloods, Serenos, the Black Hands, the ABs, GDs, Vice Lords, Aaron Brotherhood. Prison was basically, gang infested. This bred a culture of, disrespect. The Bureau of Federal Prisons, they had no concern, for the welfare or well-being of its prisoners because their policy at the time was geared towards, custody, and just security. No interest, they had no interest in, as far as any reform prison programs. But during those times, there was so much violence and lawlessness going down, in the federal, USPs, the prisons around the country. You couldn't focus on, being good or staying out of trouble. So potential imminent threat, danger was a daily concern. If you wanted to survive, you were either violent or you learned to become violent, especially when prison officials allowed the madness to go on. It was an unwritten policy that was understood by the entire prison system was that no one was safe, whether in general population or in special housing units, which is they call segregation or the whole. So mostly all the assaults that occurred with prisoners on prisoners were either promoted or facilitated, by some of the prison guards. You couldn't hide or run, no matter the status of the prisoners. Everyone was touchable, The second week or so at USP Long Park, I had my first fight, with an older prisoner from D.C. He disrespected me, in a way that was a test to see whether I was weak or not. There was no exceptions. Everybody got tested because I went to trial. Because I went to trial with Larry Hoover, I became a potential target as soon as I arrived and made it to general population. The prison security intelligence section put my photo on a gigantic board in their office for all prisoners to see, which made me a potential target amongst the other gangs and geographical groups. I was labeled by prison officials as they would say a high ranking member of the GDs. On top of that, they made it their business to inform all the other, gang leaders of my alleged status. So, if anything went down, with the GDs, I was the guy, to go to. Yeah, wow, that's how it was. This is how, shot callers of groups are made, in the prison system, whether you agree to it or not. My experience there was short lived. We eventually got transferred,